All right. I'm going to talk to you all about today about why not owning Cutco is insanity. This is fully written by not me, but Jose Santana in 2010. Okay. Here's his disclaimer. This manual is for advanced reps only. If you're not willing to put the time into this job and are not truly motivated to sell big at every demo, then you might as well stop reading this now because you will not get full use out of this book. Also, if you don't believe in what you sell, you might as well stop reading because large sales are only made because of a representative's personal conviction in his or her product. In saying that, this document is a personal guide written by a Cutco field sales manager and is not an official document of Cutco or Vector Marketing. Opinions and tips expressed in this manual are of my own and do not necessarily reflect the ideas and opinions of either Cutco or Vector Marketing. The purpose of this document is to provide whatever tips and methods I can in order to help sales reps sell large quantities on their demos. This guide primarily focuses on the presentation portion of the job and has a very large emphasis on the close. The whole work is really meant to be taken as is. What you do with it is up to you. But some of the best tools I use to succeed are within these pages. My only hope is that they may benefit readers as well. Here's a little bit of an about me. My name is Jose Santana. I'm currently a student at Harvard University studying neurobiology, and I hope to go to medical school in the near future. Needless to say, my major has nothing to do with business or sales, especially of knives, and I have had no prior experience in the marketing field before this job. I guess all you could really say about my skills when I first started with Vector was that I had a very strong drive to succeed and an open and welcoming personality, and really took pride in my ability to persuade others to see my point of view. I really feel that I can attest my recent success to all three of these traits, especially in perfecting to the best of my ability my persuasion skills. Here's where it gets good. It is August 1st, 2010, and I've only been working for Vector for 60 days, but I already feel I've learned so much. I'm currently around $90,000 in sales. I've won awards for being the champion sales rep at two of the summer conferences that I've just attended. The most recent was SC2, where I sold $53,000 in Cutco. In my fast start, I sold just under 30,000 and was very fortunate to break my current office record. To tell you the truth, I have been nothing but grateful for the opportunities and success I've had so far. I realize more than anyone else that I did not accomplish this alone and could not have done it without the help of my office, my manager, and my family. However, I just want it to be known that it can be done. And if I can help someone else achieve their goals, and it would be an honor to me. What's pretty astonishing to me is that I've been able to sell so much with a relatively small amount of demos. I've only done 80 demos. And for all of you doing the math at home, that's an average order of over $1,000. Yes, more than the Homemaker Plus 8, which costs $992. So think about the conversion of his sales now, if it was to happen today. I've actually sold more Ultimate sets than any other set. And not to scare you, but I've actually sold more Cutco kitchens, yes, the $5,000 order, than Homemakers. Hey, I'm not saying this kind of streak will last forever, but for someone who was told that selling knives was the stupidest thing I could have ever done in my life, I don't think I've done that bad so far. By the way, I'm definitely human. I've had my fair share of single knife sales and my 2 or 3 knife sales as well. But I've been lucky to only have one no sale my whole career, and that was on my second day on my job. Although there are many aspects to the Cutco sales rep's job, I feel that my greatest strength is my demo, and in particular, my close. I'm not the best at phoning. I'm maybe average at best getting recommendations, and I have on average a 90 to 180 minute demo, which is way longer than the average 60-minute demo. It's safe to say that I'm no expert and I don't pretend to be. I learn a little bit more about the job every day. However, I do like to say that once I get into Mrs. Jones's house, I'm going to convince her to buy, whether she thinks she is or not. And I'm probably going to convince her to buy more than she ever thought she or he ever would, because I'm not getting tons and tons of demos. So I'm going to make each one count. So if you want to learn how I do my demos, if you want to learn my close, if you want to learn what I think and say and believe in order to sell Cutco the way I do, if you want to learn how I convince anyone to believe that not owning Cutco is insanity, I guess you're going to have to read the rest of this manual. Pretty good, right? All right. First things first, he's going to talk about the demo. So this is straight from Jose Santana. He says the demo, methods, tips, and notes. I'll take some notes on this. First things first, come prepared. This means everything, all in caps. If you're not prepared, you will fail. By the way, this does not only mean have the usual, come well dressed, have your blue book, materials, order forms, but also this means being prepared for the mental aspects of the job, such as knowing your demo like the back of your hand, memorizing your close like you memorize your birthday. And then he put in parentheses, if you don't know your birthday, I have no idea why you're reading this. You have more important things to do. And coming with quality answers to any objection or question you might have on your demo. This means doing extensive research on your products so you know exactly what you're talking about. You need, all in caps, to know the uses, but you should, all in caps, know every useless fact that there is about every piece of Cutco there is. If the customer is impressed with your knowledge, he or she will be impressed with you. And they will be much more likely to buy from you as they regard you as the expert and may even value your opinion more than their own opinion. Next, he says, rapport, rapport, rapport. So second point, write your notes, rapport. If you're not sick of hearing how important this aspect of the demo is, you have not heard about it enough. My demos are 90% rapport and 10% demo. And to tell you the truth, if you skimp out on rapport, you skimp out on your earnings. I can't tell you how many of my demos have been mediocre sales just because Mr. and Mrs. Jones was in a rush and I skipped out on the rapport, yet I sold a much larger amount to someone who I was even less connected with because I just spent more time with them. Do anything for the customer or say anything for the customer that may help you build a stronger relationship. Here's what I have done. I have babysat kids mid-demo. I have helped people cook and serve food. I have organized files for people that are very busy. Mid-demo. I have talked about people's kids who I have never met. I have given college advice to parents whose children are about to take the SAT. I even helped a woman's kids with their homework. Trust me, if you take an interest in people, they will take an interest in you. And they'll be much more likely to buy from you. And he says, rapport is your job as this Cutco sales rep. And I'm going to wrap up with these last couple paragraphs. So here's what Jose says. Cutco is number one. Write that down. Cutco is number one. So for all intents and purposes, everything Cutco makes is the best you can buy, quote unquote. You have to believe this, or else how the world are your customers supposed to believe it? Nobody in this company wants to brainwash you to sell Cutco knives. You're entitled to your own opinion. And if you don't think Cutco knives are the most awesome thing since sliced bread, then how are you supposed to make the customer need Cutco to the point where he or she will literally die without it? It's pure psychology. And if you want to sell big, you have got to believe in what you sell. By no means, I am not the crazy knife guy. I laugh when my friends call me this. But if someone says they have Henkels and they're satisfied with them, how are you going to convince them to buy an even larger set of Cutco to replace what they have if you don't think that they're crazy? Remember, the only thing better than a Cutco knife is a set of Cutco knives. And the only thing that's better than a set of Cutco knives is a larger set of Cutco knives or the Blue Book Special. And then he has this as the next topic. It says Cutco is not a purchase. Cutco is an investment. Cutco is not a purchase. Cutco is an investment. You can write that down. Cutco is not a purchase. Cutco is an investment. So he says this. I kid you not. I literally make people repeat this line after me after I read the Forever Guarantee. I'll just say at the end of the guarantee. And the great thing about Cutco, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is that if you're not absolutely satisfied with Cutco within 15 days of it in your home, you can return it for a full refund, no questions asked. That means you can literally try Cutco at no risk whatsoever. So you can see Cutco really sets itself apart in customer satisfaction. But this guarantee also makes Cutco is also what makes Cutco something that no other brand can call itself. So that's just like what their forever guarantee looked like back then. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this is what he says after forever guarantee page. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if you could just please repeat after me. Cutco is not a purchase. 3-second pause. Cutco is, however, an investment. It's all psychology now, because you now have subconsciously changed Mrs. Jones' mindset from consumer to investor. In today's day, purchases are often seen as bad or only for necessities, but investments are seen as something very positive. It makes your customer think long-term, and that's where the real value of Cutco lies. And that's where you open the door of understanding as to why Cutco really is the most intelligent choice. Not only do you get the best, but you get the best forever. You have to drill this point home. And he says, if you can convince your client that Cutco really is an investment, by the way, he put this in parentheses, all in caps. By the way, it really is. And if you need more clarification on this, ask your manager, close parentheses. Half of your sales already made. They will truly feel now that their money is well spent. And if you could break it down to ridiculous levels, it will only be that much easier to drill your point home. An ultimate set with flatware selling for about $3,000 may seem like a large amount at first, but if it lasts for 30 years, which it most definitely should, it boils down to about $100 a year. That alone is a meal for 4 at Applebee's, not even Morton's or some other fancy place. So if the Joneses can afford 1 meal a year at Applebee's, they can afford the complete set. By the way, you do not buy Cutco, you only invest in Cutco. And last section I'll read. It says, never ever feel guilty for people buying more Cutco. Well, he puts, never ever feel guilty for people buying Cutco, and he puts more in parentheses. He says, I laugh at this one when some people tell me they feel bad when they try convincing clients who are maybe not the best off to buy more Cutco. Would you ever feel sorry for someone who invested in a quality home that may have been a little bit more expensive than the one that they wanted, but was within a possible price range and only made of the highest quality materials and was located in the ideal neighborhood? Would you feel bad for someone who decided to buy a new economical car instead of buying a cheaper used car that wouldn't last them more than a year? I hope not. And the reason is because even though the cost up front may be a little bit more, no one can be sure that in the long run, it's not double spaced. I lost myself. Rewind. I hope not. And the reason is because even though the cost up front may hurt, one can be sure that in the long run, that person will be better off with their decision. Just like a house, Cutco will last for generations. And just like a car, Cutco will not have to be replaced within the first year and will not cause any of that hassle of cheaper items. Plus, it will save a ton of money on gas, smiley face. Also, people spend money on all kinds of useless amenities, goods, and services. If Mrs. Jones won't buy a trimmer from you, but goes out to buy ice cream on Sundays at Dairy Queen for their family of 4, there's something seriously wrong with your customer's line of thinking. All they've done is spent relatively the same amount of money, but they've ingested over 1,000 calories within each of their family members, which provide no benefit to them at all. In fact, they might even need to spend more money when they could have just bought the trimmer. And they had a product that lasts forever and would have had an extra tool to provide their family with nutritious meals. The same line of thinking can be said for a family who refuses to buy the homemaker, but goes out once a week to a neighborhood restaurant. They are not spending their money wisely. And if they were just able to forgo a couple of nights out, then the Cutco would virtually pay for itself. And now they would own a much more valuable product in their kitchen. I guarantee that unless Mr. and Mrs. Jones are counting pennies and tallying every single expense in order to survive, they have enough money to buy a set of Cutco, even one of the larger sets. I also will bet a good amount of money that if they don't buy Cutco, they'll end up spending an equivalent amount of money on useless products. The only reason the Mr. and Mrs. Joneses are reluctant to spend money on Cutco is that they perceive their funds to be too small in order to incorporate a Cutco purchase plus everything else they want to with their disposable income budget. They feel that if they buy Cutco, this will be lowering their maximum utility, which is pleasure gained from goods or services. And this is 100% completely and utterly false. This misconception arises because they're only thinking about utility in the now. Unfortunately, every human is naturally inclined to think that way. So what do? You have to drive the point home that Cutco is an investment rather than a purchase because it gets people to think long term. Do you think 10 years from now, Mrs. Jones is still going to be gaining utility from that extra ice cream she bought? Or that silly thing that she went to go buy? Or that time that she went to the amusement park with the family and spent over $500 in useless junk? Absolutely not. However, if that family had bought Cutco, they'd still be using it every single day, and they would be thrilled when they want to update their kitchen and get a replacement on their old cutlery because it's absolutely for free because of Cutco's forever guarantee. Cutco is a smart purchase investment, and it is something that the utility never stops giving and where the value of the product is far greater than the price you pay for it. My advice is to go see your smartest potential customers. Most people are actually reluctant to see people because they feel that they are harder to persuade to buy. Are you kidding me? The smarter the customer, the easier the sale. If you show how much of a value Cutco really is and the advantages that it has over its competitors, an intelligent customer will understand that it is an investment and they'll probably buy a larger set to ultimately save a ton of money in their home. Does anyone feel bad for anyone being smart? No. So be happy when grandma buys an ultimate set for her daughter because it was probably some of the best $3,000 she spent in her life. And then he says, Cutco salesman is not the only job you have. And he talks about how he's babysat kids, whatnot. So that's Jose Santana.